Hello and welcome to Aging Redefined. My name is Dr. Andreas Betcher. Now in this episode, we're going to answer a very simple and fundamental question. And as all of our episodes here is brought to you by It's Only Halftime, a community for men and women that are looking to reset, refocus, and reignite their life's true potential. And what question are we talking about? It's a very simple one, and that is this: how do you want to age? It's a question I've asked audiences all over the world, but the question is, have you actually really taken the time to define it? Or does life just simply have you too busy enjoying and living in the moment and not worrying about tomorrow? And although there is a lot of great value in that, there's also a lot of great value in having some forethought into what your golden years are going to look like. And whether you like it or not, they do begin with the choices that you make even today. The compound effect can work for us or it can work against us. And we prefer here to have it work for you. Now, to help answer this question, I'm going to share with you how I personally started to answer this question. And it even began at the young age, let's say about 8, 9 years old, believe it or not. And it began with the tale of what I call two oppas. Now, I was born in Germany. I grew up in Virginia. And I called my grandparents, I didn't call them grandma or grandpa, or not that there's anything wrong with that. We called them Oma and we called them Oppa. And just like rich dad, poor dad had two different dads, I had two different Oppas that taught me two entirely different lessons. Now, bear in mind, I love them both equally. I'm not hating on any of my Oppas. I love them dearly, and I love them dearly for the lessons that they've imparted me. And in many ways, I wouldn't be here today doing the work that I'm doing if it weren't for them. And this is my father's dad, and he was a fantastic individual, naturally, who worked incredibly hard, grew up in Germany. And as a result of how he lived his life, let's just say his golden years were not what he envisioned. That I can tell you for sure. Unfortunately, he smoked a pipe every day. He didn't really pay attention to what he ate. He wasn't really overweight, never had a large waistline, but he just didn't take care of himself. Ate a lot of fried food, a lot of processed food, processed meats. And as a result, as he was aging, he was constantly in and out of the hospital. And he had a medicine cabinet that every time I seemed to go visit him in Germany, just seemed to keep getting larger and larger and larger, and more prescriptions, to the point where he couldn't even keep track of all the medications that he was taking. And then he progressed from walking normally to having the assistance of a cane, to a walker, to a wheelchair, to having circulation eventually so bad that here you can see him in this image where he had just left the hospital because he had both his legs amputated due to poor circulation issues. Now, of course, I saw this as a young man. And I saw the devastating effect that it had on him and our family and his stress and his emotional health and well-being. And let's just say it could have been better and it could have been prettier. And I had just an impact. It just really set me back, because bear in mind, when I went to go visit my unhealthy Oppa, as I'm calling him in this video, in Germany, we would then go drive through Europe and go visit my other Oppa, who had a completely different lifestyle living on the coast of Spain. Now, he worked hard as a butcher in Germany, and he made all the bratwurst and the knackwurst and the liverwurst, and more on that in a moment, and the ham and everything else that came with it, and also a waistline, which we'll talk about. But he led a completely different life. I mean, it was like polar extremes, from going from one house in Germany to the other house in the coast of Spain. He lived out of his Mediterranean garden. He overlooked the Mediterranean Sea in a multiple tier garden, and he grew bananas and pineapples and oranges and apples and tomatoes and peppers and onions and garlic. I mean, it would rival any farmer's market that you could see. Of course, all organically grown. And I remember him working in it every single day with that same smile that you see here well into his retirement years. He was always happy. And he hated hanging around, quote unquote, as he called, old people, because he just thought they complained too much about all their drugs, medications, their surgeries, their low quality of life. He was too busy living his. He was active, he was physically running, he was walking his dog every single night. In fact, he even rode his 10-speed. Now, this was like a Tour de France type road bike, 70, 80 miles every single Sunday. up the coast of the Mediterranean Sea. And I couldn't even keep up with him when I was 16 as a varsity soccer player. I mean, he dropped me. I could not keep up with the pace that he was pushing. And so I saw this as a young man, and I thought, that's how I want to age. That's how I want to get old. That's how I want to live the quality of life. Now, they both lived to be about the same age, but the quality of their retirement years were on opposite ends of the spectrum. And what I saw is it all really came down to choices. Choices that we all have every single day that we can make. And they begin today, and they begin in this moment, and you have the ability to turn that around, just like my father challenged my healthy Opa to do. Because as I preluded this segment to you on, my healthy Opa wasn't always healthy. He ate a lot of what he made as a butcher, and as opposed to that, he was 50 pounds even heavier than he was in the photograph that you saw. Now, by the way, he wasn't like a picture of a six-pack by any means, but man, was his energy and his smile and his laughter contagious. And he could walk and walk and walk. He refused stairs, he refused the escalator, and that there lies the secret to his transformation. I know, it's a radical weight loss program. I'm about to share it with you. It's really, really intense, okay? Don't think the average person can do this. And of course, I'm being a little bit tongue-in-cheek. I'm not trying to be flippant about it, but I am trying to simplify the message of how aging can truly be redefined by how you decide you want to ultimately age. Because ultimately, if that vision is clear for you, your habits will be consistent with that. Now, they weren't always like that for him, because he gave my father a lot of crap, let's just say, for always playing his soccer, always doing his sport, not taking care of his business, not looking after when he was dating my daughter. And I don't know if that was just a traditional father-in-law, son-in-law kind of, chivalry, if you will, let's put it that way. But the point is that he gave my father crap one too many times too many. And he said, you need to take care of your business. You need to start taking care of my daughter. You need to look after our financial health, her financial health, etc. And he said, you know what? I've got it. You've told me this for years. But you know what you don't have? You can't even look down to see the bottom of your toes. What good is all of your money going to do for you when you no longer have your health? Because God knows, I know your daughter wants you to be around for a long time. I want you to go around and see our grandkids. Are you up for that? And then maybe I'll meet you halfway. And that was a wake-up call that my healthy Opa needed. And as a result of that, he took it to heart. He didn't get defensive. They didn't create an argument. It actually bonded them together, ironically, in both ways. And as a result of that, here was my radical fitness program from my healthy Opa, right? The one that I just shared with you here. He walked everywhere. At first it started, he would walk to the store and do his errands. And then when he was with my grandmother, his wife, he said, you know what, drop me off here. I'm going to walk the rest of the way. Park in the back of the parking lot. I'm going to take the stairs. I'm not going to take the elevator. I'm not going to take the escalator. I'm going to take the stairs. You know what? That's only 2 miles from home. Drop me off here. I'm going to walk the rest of the way. And then 2 miles became 5 miles. And that became his exercise break. He just simply walked everywhere he possibly could and then stopped eating all the junk and started eating the foods that he organically grew in his garden, with the right sources of lean protein and a healthy exercise program, and he lost 50 pounds even after the age of 50 because of a challenge that my father laid down. And it's the same challenge that I want to lay down for you. And if you haven't taken the time to define it for you, how do you ultimately want to age? It is a choice. We are not simply a victim of our genetics. Yes, 20% of our health can be determined by genetics, but there's a whole 80% that you can control. And there's the whole science of epigenetics that in terms of emotions, thoughts, behavior, and choices that we make can turn on and off genes based on what those are. Here's the takeaway for you that I'd like you to do, is get clear on what that vision is for you. How will you age? What will you be enjoying? Who will you be doing it with? What quality of life will you be living? Will you be taking medications? No medications. Will you need a walker? Will you need a wheelchair? Will you be in a nursing home? Will you not? Will you be living an active retirement life, walking on the beach with your spouse, enjoying your grandkids, playing an active life, throwing ball with your grandkids? Whatever that ultimately is for you, and then start asking yourself, are my habits and my choices consistent with that vision? And if not, Start eliminating the ones you know are not supportive of that vision for you, and start adding the ones you ultimately know you need, because it's those investments, those small deposits that you can literally start making today that can make the difference for tomorrow. And I'd love to hear your comments and your thoughts. Feel free to put them below. Let me know what you think and ultimately how you want to age, because at the end of the day, we are nothing without you. We appreciate all of you. And of course, from all of us here, we wish you nothing but the best in health.